give you a number on this one. Okay, so I think we're ready to kick off now, guys. So I think we are live. Linda, you might need to mute your...
Do I?
Yeah, it seems to be highlighted. Okay, welcome everybody to the Waikato Coastal-Burwood Community Board meeting for the 14th of February 2022, our first meeting of the year. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and we welcome those people who are viewing it from afar, various places around the two wards. I'd like to invite you all to participate in a karakia as best we can in these circumstances. So I'll kick that off. Oh, thank you. Words are on the screen there. So we'll start. Whakataka tiho ki te uru, whakataka tiho ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina kia uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, I hi ake ana te atakura, kia tio, he huka, he hauhanga, tihe, Māori ora. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, welcome to this, the first meeting of the year, board members and public and staff. So we'll kick the meeting off with apologies. So are there any apologies? No, I don't think there are. Okay, so that's item 1, done and dusted. So we'll move on to item 2, which is declarations of interest. I haven't received any. Are there any that people would like to declare? No? Okay, so item 3, the confirmation of the previous minutes from the 6th of December 2021. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Raise your hand. Joe Zervos by a nose. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Thank you. That's carried. Okay, so item 4 on the agenda is the public forum. So I have Craig Pawsey from the Spencerville Residents Association. Craig is be sitting in the wings there somewhere. I think he'll appear shortly, and he will address the board in relation to road safety measures in Spencerville. So are you out there, Craig, or Christina, perhaps? Are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
That sounds a lot like you, Craig. Yes, we can hear you.
All right, now just trying to get to see me. I don't know if you can.
We'll settle with your voice.
Start my video. Here we go.
There he goes. We can see you from the glasses up, Craig.
There you go. That's good. Don't want to see you from further down. Hi to you all. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Shall I start?
Yes, please do. You have 5 minutes, Craig. Look forward to hearing from you.
Kia ora, and thank you for taking the time to listen to this submission. My name is Craig Pawsey, and I'm the president of the Spencerville Residents Association. Spencerville is a small community on the northeast coast of Christchurch with approximately 500 residents and 160 homes. I want to bring to your attention the problem we have of vehicles speeding into and through our community, and feel as responsible citizens, something needs to be done before a fatality occurs. The main issues is vehicles travelling down Lower Styx Road from Marston's Road. The transition from the 80k speed area to the 50 speed area as you enter Spencerville on Lower Styx Road is the most concerning area, especially as this is situated a few metres from a bend in the road where residential properties are. This is where most accidents occur, many serious. Our Community Constable Shane Thompson and the Spencerville Volunteer Fire Brigade have endorsed our concerns of speeding vehicles in our community, and we have a letter of support from John Reid, the Chief Fire Officer of the Spencerville Volunteer Fire Brigade. Many of our community members also support the need for something to be done to help prevent further accidents. We are a high volume traffic area for a small community, especially in good weather with many people visiting Spencer Park, Spencer Beach, or travelling through to Brooklands. We have a large number of young families, with many of our children spending time on their bikes and outdoors near their homes. We would love to have solar-powered signs to say slow down, a speed camera installed, or the police regularly sitting in the 50k area. However, we are aware that this would be an unreasonable task and would not be the only community or area in similar situation. We do have a need, and in the need to keep our residents safe and those travelling through Spencerville is of the highest priority. Therefore, we would like to put to the council the following proposal. 1, bring the northern 50k Spencerville sign back at least 100 metres towards Marston's Road to encourage vehicles to slow down well before the bend into Spencerville, as there are often logging trucks and parked vehicles coming in and out of the forest from 12th Ave. The 50k sign could be placed before that entrance. 2, place a wide red or rumble strip across the road where the 50k Spencerville sign is situated at both ends, at both the north and the south ends of Spencerville. Both of the above would be cost effective and bring attention to drivers well before they enter Spencerville to slow down. Adding the red strip or rumble strip would be an additional reminder that they are now entering a residential area. I'd like to read you the letter from the Spencerville Fire Brigade. From them. I would like to support the Spencerville Residents Association over their concern on the way people speed into Spencerville from the south end of the Spencerville entrance via Lower Styx Road. I've been a member of the Spencerville Fire Brigade and now the Tuapo Spencerville Brigade for over 46 years and Chief Fire Officer for the last 20 years. During this time, I've attended many automobile accidents, but this corner would account for the most and the serious accidents by far. It was the scene of one of the first accidents I attended and have continued to attend accidents over the years. These accidents do not involve locals, but people who are not aware of the danger of this bend or the change in the speed limit. This bend has been a major hazard in our area, and I commend the residents and their attempt to remove or minimise this hazard from our community. John Reid, Chief Fire Officer, Spencerville Volunteer Fire Brigade. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns. We are always open to a discussion and would be interested to hear of any ways that you would think to beneficial to prevent traffic speeding in our community. From the Spencerville Residents Association and members of the Spencerville community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. Yeah, sorry, can you hear me right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much aware of the area. And yeah, having driven down there myself, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm just one question. Do you get a lot of speeding in the road down to the beach, past the campground, etc.?
Yes and no. We've had, it's mainly just the boy races, like to race between the judder bars.
Yes.
Other than that, no.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for that. Look, really appreciate you letting us know, and yeah, I think we will. Yeah, we'll. Yeah, Cindy, would you like to?
Yep. So I was just going to ask, firstly, Craig, could you possibly please kindly email me a copy of your statement just so I can attach it to the minutes of the meeting? And secondly, I was just going to say to the board, would you like a resolution to go to staff that reads something along the lines of refer the issues raised by the Spencerville Residents Association in relation to preventing speeding drivers in the Spencerville community to staff for investigation and response back to the community board?
I'm happy to indicate with
that.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
so we
you,
have
guys.
majority there. Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Craig, for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you very much for all that.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
Right. So moving along to item 5 on the agenda, which is deputations by appointment. We have none today. We also have no presentation of petitions. So that's item 5 and 6 taken care of. We'll move on to item 7, which is correspondence. And Cindy will explain this. I'm sure you've all read it. We'll just give Cindy a moment to appear. So this is the correspondence about the Fronds lighting. Cindy.
Okay, so I'll take the report as read, and my recommendation is to refer the correspondence to staff for investigation in relation to lighting of the fronds and response back to the community board. And you'll also note the second recommendation is just a note to say that the mayor's aware of the request made because she was included in the original email.
Okay, brilliant. So look, I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, Joe, you jumped the gun again. So is there any debate needed for this? I think it's fairly open and shut. I think, yeah, we're happy with that. Okay, everyone's nodding. Okay, so did somebody say something there? No? Okay, so I'm going to put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye or raise their hand. Okay, thank you, everybody. There's no opposition, so that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on quite quickly to item 8, which is the Bexley Reserve Pump Track. So I think we have Kim Swarbrick with us.
Happy to move, Kelly.
Thank you, Phil. So we'll just have a maybe Kim and Christina would like to just very briefly summarise this. Are they there? I see Christina there. Yep.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. I haven't really been briefed as to what was needed as part of the discussion today, so I was hoping Kim was here. But we are making headway. But I think what was on the agenda tonight was the change to the amendments to the concept plan.
Yeah.
Whether the community board agrees on those, and also I think there was the paperwork around the lease agreement to go in and build it. So these are the things that are outside my control. So I was hoping that somebody would be here to front these.
Okay, well, look, I think it's fairly straightforward, but does anybody have any questions that Christina might endeavour to answer? No.
And Kim is just joining the meeting as well, Kelly, sorry.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine. I don't know that we have any questions anyway, or whether, so we might just wait a second till Kim turns up. And we have a mover in Phil anyway, and and a seconder in BB. So is Kim here? Actually, does anybody have any questions? I mean, no. Okay, so look, I don't think that debate is necessary, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour say aye or raise their hand. Aye. Okay. Yeah, so that's carried. Thank you. All right.
Can I just ask a question? So the motion that was just carried was the agreement that the lease to the license to occupy or the permit to occupy for construction process is going ahead. Is that correct?
As far as I understand, Kim, would
okay,
you like
perfect.
to
Brilliant. Yep. No, I just wanted to establish that, and also whether the concept plan has been agreed as it's been changed.
Well, look, we've already passed the motion, so
yeah, no, fine. No, just yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I think we'll just move on to item 9 on the agenda, actually, which is the discretionary response fund application for drug arms. So thank you guys for attending. But moving on to item 9 on the agenda, which will be introduced to us by Emily from the community board. So Emily, would you like to expound upon that for us, please?
Yeah, kia ora koutou. I will take the report as read. This is a new one for our community board. Well, they've certainly not been back to us for a while. Metropolitan group, but they are based within our ward borders. I've been down to meet them, and I was pretty impressed with what they were offering. And so, yeah, this is just a recommendation. Happy to take any questions.
So do we have any questions for Emily from elected members on this?
Happy to move it, Kelly.
Okay. Thanks, Phil. But Bibi, you have a question there?
Is there a reason why we're not providing them with the amount requested, given that we do have availability within our fund?
Given that we didn't have any history with them as a community board, and when I met them, I did make it clear that we do encourage them not to become like dependent, I suppose, to come back every single year for this. I imagine they will come to strengthening communities when that comes up. But it was really kind of just trying to, I guess, illustrate that we make a contribution and not the whole amount as a general rule for discretionary fund.
Yeah,
but, I mean, happy
although
to
they
increase
only
the amount.
requested, they only requested 2/3 of the amount that they require.
Yeah, because they got funding from elsewhere as well. So
yeah.
Okay, is that all, Bibi? Yep. Joe, did you have a question? No, you're good. Okay, well, it's been moved. I'll second it, and so I'm gonna. Would anybody like to debate it at all? No. Okay, Bibi.
I'd like to provide them with the full amount, but it's already been moved and seconded. But what's the motion? It's for the, yeah, okay, the motion is for 5,000. I'd like to give them 6,500.
Would you like to check if there's a seconder, Kelly?
Is there a seconder for that at all?
So just an amendment to the
yeah,
motion.
Okay, I don't think there is.
No. Okay.
Okay, so
if you might, I support the rationale that Emily's put to us.
okay, thank you. Okay, so we do have a motion that has been moved and seconded for $5,000. So let's vote on that now. So I put that motion. All those in favour say aye or raise their hand. Okay. Thank you. That is carried. All right. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, team. So we'll move on to item 10 today, which is the Community Board Area Report for February. So I'll invite Chris Turner-Bullock, who's our Governance Manager, to speak to that. So Chris, welcome.
Thanks, Kelly. Look, to be honest, I'll take the report as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But Jackie, if you're available, maybe if you could just a brief comment on the I Love Brighton. So obviously in the area report, it talked about it being reinvented, but you've had an email last week, end of last week. But Jackie, if you can just maybe run through that just so it's clear for the public as well.
Yeah, sure. At the time of preparing the area report, we were still in discussions with schools with regards to the alternative events that we were doing for I Love Brighton. And then, of course, the changes to the red light settings and the impact that was having on schools and their ability to be able to go ahead and to be able to manage with the new red light restrictions. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. So we've since been able to have those discussions with schools, and it's going to make it very difficult for the event to go ahead. So we'd made the decision to cancel those alternative events, and that was the email that was sent to board members on Friday. So there was the discussion about whether to postpone until later this year, and that was proving too difficult with planning processes for the planning group. So what we're going to do is go ahead and reschedule I Love Brighton for Waitangi Day 2023 back at Thompson Park. Happy to take any questions about that.
Thanks, Jackie.
Are there any questions for Jackie? If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand so I can see that. So we'll start with Bibi.
Just wondering if there was any, if there's any financial penalty that they'll have to deal with as a result of a cancellation like this. Like, do they lose some money for doing this?
No, we'd started making bookings, but there's been no money paid at this point. So the funding for I Love Brighton has come from the board's discretionary response fund for this financial year. So the decision can be if the board is supportive for that funding to be carried forward for next year's event. And that's the kind of position we're taking for a number of events that have been funded through the board Strengthening Communities and discretionary funding.
Thank you.
Linda, your question?
Yeah, I can understand why that decision has been made under the circumstances. It's really disappointing, but I support the funding being held over for Waitangi Day next year.
You don't have a question in there somewhere?
No.
Okay, it's all good.
Kelly, if I may, just really quickly, it'll be good just to get a general steer from the rest of the board, so we don't have to ask you at a later date. So is everyone just generally comfortable carrying that funding forwards? Because we can just do that without needing a resolution anyway, I think. Thank you.
That's why I gave my steer.
Nice. Okay, Chris.
No, so that was the main one that I wanted to touch on, just because it was different to what's published in the agenda, because as we're all learning with COVID, things tend to just develop constantly. But otherwise, any other questions from you guys? Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris? No. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Chris. So can I have a mover for that? Joe, is that a question or are you moving?
I don't know what she's doing.
I was turning my microphone on. It's more or less just a statement about the area report with the stats and the bins not collected, damaged bins and litter on the road, litter on the park. I added those up and they account for 506 of the reports just on rubbish alone. And I think it's something we really need to get on top of. So I just thought I'd point that out.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to move that we accept the report. Do I have a seconder? Linda, thank you. So all those in favour say aye. Yep. And opposed? No, there's none. So that's carried to 2. Thanks, guys. I know it's a wee bit difficult. It's a bit stilted with doing this on Zoom, but we're getting there slowly. So yeah, apologies. It's never going to be perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to the last item on our agenda, which is the elected members information exchange. So I'd like to invite someone to start if they would like to tell us what they've been up to, or information that they would like to share. So I'll start with Bibi and then we'll go to Linda and Joe and Phil. Joe, I think we'll go Bibi, Linda. Bibi, if you want to start, that's fine. Joe, yep. Phil.
So I have been working with the Peak Trust over the break around. I helped them to develop a COVID vaccination policy, and that has created some difficulty within the trust, but we're working our way through that. And they also really needed to have a good look at the future of the trust and whether they were viable and sustainable. And so we've just been working our way through that and kind of just putting some systems and processes in place that make the trust more sustainable over time. Actus has been on hiatus. I got my first meeting there this week, so I can report back once that's happened. TTK hasn't met since our last meeting, so nothing to report there. But as the surrogate elected member for the Darlington Residents Association, since Phil never turns up to our meetings, although he did have a reasonable excuse this time. We have also been impacted by the cancellation of our events. So our skip day and our carols in the park got cancelled, and we'll be coming back to the to you guys to I guess the new person was Anna, but Rory, to have a conversation about holding over funds for next year. And the only other one was that I've been working with Courtney, who's the Red Zone manager, on the opening for the Darlington Landing. So that presumably will come through the board. It's due for opening end of February, beginning of March.
Okay,
That's all I've got.
thank you, Bibi. Linda.
Similar issues actually with the Darlington Community Trust, which is about keeping the community connected. Pretty hard job to do when there's no community facility that they can use in the area. They've had to cancel 3 of their events that they organised, and it's pretty soul destroying. Then next up was a garage sale scheduled for this coming Saturday. That's one of their ways of making funds. It's becoming quite a main way of making funds. They're looking really at how they can make it run under the traffic setting for hopefully the following weekend. But my message here is we are getting disconnected from our communities, and it won't be just Darlington, it'll be across, well, a whole city. But my job is in my ward, and I'm really concerned about the loss of connection. I don't really know what we can do about it, but I would really like our heads to get together on that one. And the other issue, twice now, just before Christmas, we had that massive downpour, and again this last week and over the weekend, we've got widespread flooding issues that we need to look at. It's coming up on Facebook pages, but we're not getting any alerts. And I think I mentioned this before our board meeting today. Yeah, I think we need to be reconnected with community to understand where we've got to put action into place. And by the way, with Peeps, I've been a board member on Peeps. It'd be really good if Peeps came to board and talked about their future with us, because we've given them a heap of funding over the years and they've done some great work. I would like to know, and not just going to close their doors. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Linda. Right, we'll move on to Joe. I'm getting some bad feedback here.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a whole list of things I've been doing over the break. I went to
Why are we surprised?
Good work, Joe.
The South Shore Residents Association, I went to one of their meetings back in January. The Estuary Trust was there giving a presentation, and they are actually really, really good to listen to. Because the South Shore have been going, the Residents Association have been going for 75 years now. It's one of the longest residents associations in New Zealand. They were really looking forward to celebrating that at their yearly picnic, but that has been cancelled this year, unfortunately. So the Estuary Trust has come up with a variety of things that they can do within the community, which will hopefully make up for the lack of the barbecue and keep the community focused and together. And we've got a meeting with the South Shore residents tonight as well. The New Brighton Museum, their funding is coming along quite well, and they've actually got enough funding to apply for some grants now. They had to reach a certain target to do that. And I've got another meeting with the museum tomorrow. Celeste and I went to the CEAT meeting the other night, and just to catch up on how they're tracking along, and it's going quite well, and they've got some more consultation coming out soon, which is more refined to what they did have.
Joe, can I ask a question?
Yep.
Just about CEAT. Have they identified the projects or project that they're looking to fund yet? Are they at that stage?
No, they're starting to whittle it down. They've probably got about 10 that they're looking at, and some of them are umbrella projects, so it might be a couple within one umbrella. So once they've decided those, they're going to take them on to the next round of consultation and get more community input.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's going there. It's going to take a wee while, but they're doing really well. Just before Christmas, I mentioned about the dip in the footpath on the Pages Road Bridge, and staff said they were going to get onto it that week, and it's still the same. So I've tried to follow that up, but just keeping you in the loop. The community gardens, they have just had the last couple of weekends where it's been pouring down. A whole lot of volunteers get together with City Care and assemble the new cabin that was donated for Donald, the deafblind sculpture, so a sculptor, should I say. I emailed the board the other day about the garden plots in New Brighton and whether you'd be interested in changing them to ornamental status, which means that they get more care, get better looked after. I don't know what you all think about that. Are you in agreement, or?
I've got to say something here. The issues are widespread across the ward, so I don't want to see one area get favouritism over another.
Yeah, I understand
Kind of my take also.
Yeah, I understand that too. However, my personal belief is that this is like right at the heart of one of the busiest parts of the two wards, and if any area was going to be an ornamental garden, I would think that this would be a really key one to have looking good all the time, given that we have events like the Coast to Coast go through there this week, and it's they're right outside the hot pools. I think special attention should be paid to them, but maybe we can talk about that offline before we sort of go forward with that.
Okay.
Should have a same standard across the city, though.
Sorry, Linda?
We should have the same standard across the city.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work out that way. Though.
We don't.
Sorry, you carry on, Joe.
Yep, that's okay. Was meant to meet Courtney from the Red Zone team last week about the dog park in Admiral's Way, and a couple of residents as well, and that meeting got put off. We're waiting for that to reschedule. I have been liaising with Sharon Wilson, who did that beautiful beach mosaic down at New Brighton, and they're looking at funding. There's a Give a Little page up at the moment to actually help contribute towards some of the expenses that that group has faced. And just today I had contact from Rachel from Christchurch, New Zealand, who is keen to meet with Sharon and discuss some options with her. Crime is really rampant at the moment. Every single day on Facebook there's 3 or 4 posts about theft, prowling, vandalism, and it's actually quite alarming what's going on. And there's no easy answer, but I think we actually need to have a talk to Roy next time he's in. And Bebe and I went to the Coastal Hazards hearing, presented the board's thing. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Phil, I do believe you are next.
Okay. There's a couple of things I want to chase up. I brought it up with staff the other day, but I don't know where Cindy's at with it. I'd really like to see a resolution on the job getting finished at Travis Road, where that white line median strip thing is seemed to have taken forever. I understand it's that we've got to consult with people and stuff like that, but surely it can't take long to consult there. And I haven't given up on that entrance way out of New World Prestons. I'm getting a plan drawn up, and I'm going to get yellow lines put on the plan, Chris, not on the road.
Not more yellow lines.
And I just want to meet someone from traffic out there and say, look, you've got to try something. If it doesn't work, burn them off. It doesn't matter. Because it's not sharp. Now, just to put you in a picture, at council the other day, these some figures I've got for you. We get roughly 2,000 complaints a month on people's rubbish bins that are not picked up, and normally red ones. That's all. No, I suppose it's any of them. 2,000 a month, which is 500 weeks, 100 a day, and our staff at council have got better things to do than answer phones for things like this. So I started getting into it a bit more, and it turns out that all the rubbish trucks have to be, especially the red rubbish trucks, have to be emptied by 4 o'clock, 4:15 of a day, so that the transfer station can get its floor cleaned up, so that there's no rubbish lying around for smell and what have you. But we're working with Eco Central to try and extend the hours, because Waste Management would love to go out and still be collecting rubbish at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, especially in the summer when the traffic isn't as busy. But at the moment they could collect it, but they can't dump it out of their trucks, because we as a council or our council company will not, or cannot, or can't open their facility, not to the public, to just to Waste Management, to be able to dump the waste off, which would stop us getting all these complaints. Because if it's like any business at the moment, they're struggling for truck drivers. I know buses are, I know Fonterra is, and I certainly know that Waste Management is. So if we can extend the hours that they can actually dump the rubbish off, we'll get the rubbish picked up, and then we won't get the complaints. So just letting you know that. But 100 a day, that's a lot of hours of some of our staff sitting on a phone taking down a complaint that's not necessary, when I think we can get the problem solved.
All right, is that it, Phil? Is there...
Oh, and sorry, my favourite. I've put some stuff in, and Cindy's quietly pointing me in the right direction, which is really good. These trees, there's one at Yellowstone Crescent, there's one in Wilmington Place. Actually 1,001 of them, but I'm starting off using the process. So I've now got I filled out what I thought was the form to the council, whereas if you've got a ticket number, you put the ticket number down, you put the person's name down, you put the address down, how long you've lived there, and all that sort of thing. And then it goes to get an arborist report, and it goes through a whole lot of stuff. But the end result is, the end person who has the final say is the community board. So I'm working with council in there so that we can shortcut the system. We know the tree's causing grief. If we can, as a board, agree to say, right, take Yellowstone Crescent, for example, it's a wrong tree, wrong place. We've sent out more arborists than I've had hot dinners over the years to be able to work on getting this tree down. If we're happy with it, we should be able to make the decision straight away, and it comes down. So that's what I'm aiming to do there, because there's just thousands of them, just doing little bits of damage. I've got one in Fairway Park that's actually lifted the guy's drive 150 mils, and all we do is send people out and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with this tree, cut the tree down and put a new one in. Well, I'm saying remove the tree and not put another one in. Everyone's happy to have another one put in, but we've just got to get rid of the ones that are doing the damage and upsetting all these residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Yes, I certainly know about that one you're talking about in Yellowstone Crescent, having been around there and interviewed the resident, and he showed me the damage to the footpath, all the leaves in the gutter, and all over his house and in his backyard. And it must be incredibly frustrating to live under a eucalyptus tree like that. Anyway, so Celeste.
Kelly, so I'll keep it pretty brief, but had a meeting with some residents and Poto Williams, and had a bit of a catch up on things that some of the residents had raised, such as community safety. And we had a discussion around whether it would be a good idea to perhaps look at connecting some of the groups that are working in this space to have a more open dialogue about where some of the challenges have been and what we can do to increase that sense of safety. So that's something that we may want to action in a future meeting and have a bigger conversation about that. Some other issues that have been very topical are around flooding in the stormwater pipes. I've met with residents, and I'm having another discussion with staff about that. So I'll be able to give a bit more of an update when I've had that conversation to bring together some of the questions that have come through and just sort of get a bit more of an overview of where some of the challenges have been. And also, I think the other part of that is making sure that there's good information as to, you know, why sometimes some areas are flooding and what works are underway to address those issues. Moving on quickly, I have had a number of other meetings. So I met, like Joe said, with the SEAT Greater New Brighton Community Development Committee. I met with Sustainable Coastlines. We had a catch up about what they're doing. I've met with the Pakuka Centre about their great project and their funding drive, which is at a really critical stage, and they've done incredibly well. But as they've mentioned in their presentation, it's a pretty challenging environment with construction costs and lots of groups all applying for the same funding. And just generally, I got a bit of information about, you know, where things are tracking in terms of the financial impact of the hot pools, because, you know, I know that we're in difficult times. So I did get a bit of data from Christchurch NZ, which I'll quickly share. And it said in the 5 months since the hot pools have opened, there's been about a 15% increase in the 5 months after in electronic spending. So that's actually had quite a concrete impact. We have also seen that while the international visitor spends dropped in the New Brighton area, there's been about a 20% increase in domestic spending. So it's quite a positive news story. And then there's been a bit of a flow-on effect to some of the cafes over in the retail, the commercial core as well. So it sort of can be hard to estimate exactly, but around about 10%. So I think it's quite a good thing to know in terms of the fact that there is, you know, quite a noticeable increase in spending as a flow-on effect from the hot pools. We all know they're very popular, so it's good to see what the financial impact has been, which has been positive.
Okay.
That's all from me, sorry.
Went silent there. Thanks, Celeste. A quick phone call to Merrin is always quite good. She's on top of all the stats around the pool. She's the manager down there, Merrin Skipper. Thanks very much for that. I've just got a couple of little things. I'm sure if you've been emailed by Wax, they have their 20th anniversary coming up, and I think it's March the 4th, lunchtime, which is a Friday. They're always good things to go along to. So, yeah, I hope a few of us can get to that. I'm intending to head along. You've been answering a few residents' queries around trees and problems with lakes. Been involved with Phil on two of those things. It's actually really interesting looking at it from the residents' view. When you first get the email from them, you sort of, wonder, what the problem is. But actually, when you get in and see what they have to deal with, it's quite easy to sympathise, and just sort of helping guide them through the process is actually quite satisfying. I know Phil's been great with this guy in Yellowstone Crescent with his tree, and also this lake in a couple of lakes in our area, just sort of lakes, is that the right description for them? Retention ponds, which have growth of, stuff like this on the surface. It's just unbelievable, doesn't smell great either. So yeah, being involved with those has been kind of interesting. I'm on the Estuary Trust. They're continuing to focus on the control of dogs in the estuary, particularly from the South Shore side, people walking their dogs and letting them run loose and chase birds around. Unfortunately, that's it's not great for the birds, and they're under a bit of pressure there. So they're sort of gathering data to help inform people on what the correct behaviour is and try and mitigate the effect. As far as that, I've also had a few complaints about the road access onto Preston's Road out of the New World supermarket. I don't live far from there. It's interesting. So far, we've had reports from council that there's not an awful lot that can be done. However, I do note that on people leaving Travis country have plastic markers in the middle of the road to shepherd them onto Travis Road. And I would venture to say that a lot less cars come out of Travis country than come out of that supermarket during the day. Yet they don't have anything to shepherd them out into the traffic. And Melinda knows this too, that there has been a number of accidents down there with people coming out. It is a wee bit fraught. You're coming out into a 60k. Yeah, so hopefully we can see something like that looked at again, and maybe it'd be time for us to bring a light onto that. And also, I've also had identified, this has been ongoing for the last sort of 8 months, by a resident in Hawke Street, has identified a piece of kind of tarmac outside their house that they consider a trip hazard. And we've been back and forthing with the staff on this, and it always makes it it's a difficult situation because obviously the resident thinks one thing and the staff come and have a look at it and they think another thing, and finding that sort of happy balance between the two is quite difficult. And I understand in this case that there's something is going to be done about it, but it's not rostered to be looked at until June 2022. So that's the uncomfortable world we live in sometimes, you know. When can something be done when a resident sees it as something urgent and the council sees it as something that they can do over time? So yeah, it's an uncomfortable wee space to be in, managing those expectations, as I'm sure you're all aware. But that's all I really have for you. And thanks everybody for their contribution today. I know it's not the easiest doing it on Zoom. We'd all rather be in person with people presenting to us and seeing, eyeballing people face to face, but you know, in the current environment, hopefully it'll change soon. We'll be able to move on. So just before we close the meeting, I will lead the closing karakia and we'll go from there. So the words have very conveniently appeared thanks to the wonderful Cindy. So the closing karakia. Unahia, unahia, unahia ki te uru tapanui, ki watia, ki mama, te nakio, te tinana, te wairua, I te ara takata, koe rea rā rongo, whakiria, ake ki ranga, kia tina, hui e, taki e. Thank you very much, everybody. I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance. And thank you to our staff and all those who contributed.